What's going on, YouTube? Back at you guys again. Another knife review. As you can see, we have a QSP. And normally I don't do an unboxing video, and this isn't an unboxing video. Obviously, I've already opened this and been playing with it for a while. But I just wanted to put it in the box to show you this fancy little box that this knife comes in. I don't know how good the camera will pick up the reflectivity of this box. It's a matte black box, but as you can see, it's kind of got a copper snail trail type design on it. It's a nice little box. I have to say, I'm fairly impressed, especially at the price point of this knife. You can see right here, Penguin D2 brass. That's right. I know everybody raves about the QSP Penguin in general for good reason. It's a really good knife. But everybody that I've seen has really just been nuts about the, what is it, the Blue Jean micarta, I think, which is great. Y'all know I love micarta. I love micarta knives. I just want to try something different, and there aren't just a ton of reviews out on this version, so I decided to get this one. Go ahead and open it up. I'll show y'all what I got. You can see you have a little card here from QSP. It says, "Thank you for choosing QSP knife. We hope you enjoy it. Here are some specifications about your knife." And then it goes to show just some of the overall specs on the knife. On the back side, every QSP knife is guaranteed against defects, material, and workmanship and has a limited lifetime warranty. For more information, visit QSPknife.com. So there's that. And here we go. Get rid of the foam. And there she is. As I said, obviously it comes in a little plastic sleeve, but I've already opened this knife before, so it is not in there. Here is the knife. And this knife comes in two variations. Obviously the QSP Penguin comes in many different variations. The brass knife comes in two. You can get the brass knife with a satin finish blade or a dark, I would call it a stonewash finish blade. That's the one I went with. If my camera will focus, maybe it'll cooperate with me today. It's a good looking knife. See, brass handle. It just gives it a little touch of class. I think the brass handle kind of elevates this from a, just another decent looking knife. I just think it really makes it classy. And as many of you know, I like heavier knives. I like sort of hefty knives. And brass definitely does that, at least in comparison to the regular micarta version of this knife. Just go over it a little bit. I got this one actually from eBay. It was an eBay seller and he had them in stock, whereas many others didn't, so that's where I went with. You can find the QSP Penguin itself in stock almost anywhere, but this version specifically, the brass version with the black blade, eBay is the place I found it with the best price. So that's where I got that. I paid $49.50 for this knife. If you know, as you probably know if you've looked at them, that is a slight upcharge from the regular Penguin. Most of the Penguins, the micarta versions, I think they run about $29, $30, somewhere in there. This one comes in at $50. So you are paying an upcharge for that brass handle. In my opinion, it is completely worth it. As I said, I've never had, this is the only Penguin I've ever had. But just the substantialness that this brass gives this knife, I can't imagine liking the micarta any more than I do this knife. So I'm willing to pay that $20 upcharge to get this version. Specs on the blade. It's a 3.06 inch blade. I'll just call it 3 inches. A little bit less because obviously it's got that sharpening tool right there. 3-inch blade, D2. As you can see back here on this back side, it says D2 right there. I just went with the D2 because, again, this to me, much like the Civivi Elementum, it's meant to be a very nice budget knife, and D2 is great for that. I do know that they have come out with other versions of the Penguin using S35VN. which is great. Overall, I do think S35N is a better knife still than D2 is for most purposes, but you're going to pay an upcharge for that. And again, I paid an upcharge already for the brass scales. That was $20. You're going to pay a lot bigger upcharge for S35N. So it just kind of defeated the purpose for me. And again, this knife for me isn't, just an end-all be-all knife for me. So I don't need to have just the most top-of-the-line premium one that they make. Sheep's foot blade. What are my thoughts on that? It's fine. I like sheep's foot blade. I've got a sheepdog or Kaiser sheepdog, the large or extra large, the 4-inch bladed one. It's kind of a beater knife for me, and I use that knife all the time. Sheep's foot blade is no problem for me for most EDC tasks. Do I think that a sheep's foot blade has all the utility of, say, a drop point? No, I don't. Obviously, you're going to be losing some of that piercing action. I mean, obviously, this tip will still pierce. It's just not going to be as utilitarian as something like a drop point blade. But overall, a sheep's foot is fine for most EDC tasks. Like I said, if you just have a normal office job, urban environment, you're opening envelopes and, cutting open packaging, this knife will work fine. It'd be great for that. And the blade is flat ground. You have it flat all the way down the top of the blade right here. As you can see, when I get the light on the right way, all the way down the top of the blade, there is a flat running the length of the blade, which I really appreciate. Knife sharpening or sharpening your own knives, it really helps to have it flat to get locked down onto. Makes it a lot easier. But from that flat, it is flat ground all the way down the rest of the blade. The handle on this knife overall is 4 inches, here to here, 4 inches long. It's a hair under half an inch thick. I'm not sure how this one compares to the micarta Penguin. I imagine it's going to be pretty close. I don't see there being a whole lot of difference in the width of the knife. This one's coming in is 0.46 inches, so I'll just call it half an inch. Brass. That's the only reason I got this knife. I'll be honest with you. I just like the way it looked. Now, I know there are plenty of knives that you can get in brass, but again, I've been curious about this knife anyway. I've been curious about these since they came out. I've been meaning to get my hands on one, just never really bit the bullet and got one. And then one day I seen they came out with a brass version. And when I seen that, I finally said, yeah, I'll go ahead and get me one. Really glad I did. I really like this knife, especially with this brass handle. To me, this knife with the micarta, I'm not buying this knife to fill any specific role for myself. I'm just buying it because I like it and I wanted to try one out. It's not a knife that I needed for any certain reason. And for me to buy the micarta version of this knife, there's just already other knives I have that do the exact same thing. The Civivi Elementum, for example, that knife and this knife are roughly the same size. Obviously, this one's going to be heavier because of the brass. But the standard micarta version of the QSP Penguin, it and the Civivi would fill basically the same role for me. They're roughly the same size, and I just wouldn't need two knives for that same purpose. I got this knife because of the brass, because I like the way it looked. It's kind of a upscale, gentleman's carry type knife. This knife is a liner lock, as you can see, stainless steel liner lock. No problems with actuation. If I hold it flat, get it in focus, as you can see, you do have a little bit of jimping there on the liner lock itself. It doesn't hang down really far, but there's plenty to actuate. I have no issues getting to that lock to actuate it. As the knife comes, I haven't changed this. It comes right hand tip up carry for the clip, and it is a deep carry clip. It will seat all the way down. And although the screws under here, I touched on this in one of my last videos, although the screws under here aren't flush mount screws, they're not very tall. I haven't noticed them impeding. I haven't noticed them grabbing, I should say, on my pockets at all. It rides good. Like I said, normal deep carry clip, rides good. Haven't noticed any problems because of those screws getting it in or out of the pocket. It hadn't moved around on me or anything like that. But it comes right hand tip up from the factory, and that is reversible to left hand tip up. As you can see, those are your two mounting screws right there, and those screws are already in the knife. As you can see, there's those two screws, and then the same two screws on the side that I have the pocket clip attached to right now. So those screws will just be visible all the time. Whether that will bother you or not, I don't know. I suppose you could take them out, but then you're just gonna have two holes there. Not saying that would or wouldn't affect anything, just an observation. Doesn't bother me, but it is reversible. You can carry it right hand or left hand tip up. Overall, from tip to butt, this knife is just a hair over 7 inches long. It's 7.06 inches from tip to butt. Good overall length. The weight on this knife, that would be the topic, considering this is the brass version. This knife, as it comes, weighs 5.11 ounces, 5.11 ounces. For comparison's sake and for your reference, the standard micarta version of the QSP Penguin, the same setup, D2 steel, you know, everything else being equal, micarta version would weigh 3.17 ounces. So you're adding roughly 2 ounces to this knife when you step up to the brass version. Is that a big deal for you? Maybe it is. But I feel like the people who would consider the brass version are obviously going to be okay with the weight gain, because they know that's going to be part of it. They're anticipating that. They know that's going to be one of the side effects of brass. Obviously, it's going to be heavier than micarta or many other substances that you could get this knife in. I don't think it'll be an issue. But just for, you know, reference sake, the weight this knife, as you see it here, sits 5.11 ounces. That's roughly the weight of the standard version of this knife, a micarta version of the QSP Penguin, and a standard Benchmade bug out with the FRN scales combined. So you could carry a standard QSP Penguin and a Benchmade bug out for roughly the same size as this one knife sits right here. Not a big deal to me. Sometimes I carry two knives anyway. A lot of the time, especially at work, I'll carry a smaller knife like this just for detailed stuff that I may or may not even need it for, and then I'll carry a larger, what I would consider a work knife, something I can really beat on, and I'll show y'all one of those later in the video. But I don't have any problems with this as a primary carry. You know, going out to dinner, run to the store, this will be fine, and it's just kind of classy. It's a good dress up knife. It doesn't come across on camera. I've tried. I wish I could. I wish I could get it to. The blade, as you can see, it is a kind of rough stone wash finish. I'm gonna pull it off camera real quick. But in my eyes, and it may just be because of the lighting or the brass scale, I almost feel like this blade kind of has like a brass flake kind of effect to it. That may just be my eyes. I'm not saying it does, because in all reality, it would be much easier just to do a dark stone wash. It almost looks like it's got a brass flake to it, seeing it in person. I know the camera doesn't show it at all, but in my eyes in person, it's almost got like a kind of brass undertone to it. It's kind of hard to explain. I like it though. It's a good looking knife. Wanted to give y'all some size comparisons, you know, competitive options maybe for this knife. Set that right here. And one more thing, as you can see, I have extra large hands. I wear extra large gloves. I can roughly get a full 4-finger grip on this knife. It's plenty comfortable. As you can see, my pinky kind of hangs over just a little bit, but I can still get it up on there. And the ergonomics are good. For what this knife is, you know, it's not a very flashy, stylish shape. It's really just kind of boxy and square. That's fine. That works. Is it the most ergonomic knife in the world? No. But it's not uncomfortable by any means. Also, this knife has very good jimping. Don't know how good the camera's going to pick that up. The jimping is very purposeful, and it's in a really good place. Obviously, this knife doesn't have a finger choil on the blade, so you're not going to be up here for anything. You're going to be back here on the handle. And for that, the jimping lands right where your thumb is going to be. It's good, it's purposeful, it's tactful, it works. Few comparisons for you. As you know, for a standard size comparison for me, I always throw up the Civivi Elementum, which I think is kind of a direct competitor to this knife. Almost overall the exact same size. Don't know how well it'll come on camera, but overall length is almost identical. Overall size is almost identical. The only thing different between these two knives, obviously, is going to be the weight. This knife is much heavier. This knife is roughly 2 ounces more than the Elementum is, maybe a hair more than that. Show you one more size comparison. This is more of an oddball knife. I don't know how many people have it. This is a Ferrum Forge mass drop we produced Falcon. This is the S35VN. This is the wing edition. It's got the milled titanium handle on it. Really like this knife. Been meaning to do a review on this knife for forever. I've had it for a while. I haven't used it a whole lot. Just for me, this is a really pretty knife. And this, again, kind of falls into the same category as the QSP Penguin for me. It's more of a dress-up knife, so I really haven't just beat on this. But I love, love, love this knife. It's a titanium frame lock. Great knife. On the smaller side, if I line that up from the tip as well, as you can see, it's actually a little bit smaller than the Penguin is. Just by a little bit. I'd probably say 3/8 of an inch shorter overall. A little bit shorter blade. Get those out of the way. And one more thing I wanted to show you related to the weight of this knife. As I said, this knife weighs 5.11 ounces, which is considerable, especially for a knife this size. And the way I want to demonstrate that, I had to look. I was trying to find a knife that I had that was roughly the same weight to show you comparatively what else you could be carrying. And this is one of my go-to standard work knives. This is the Cold Steel Recon 1. This is the large 4-inch blade. As you can see, I've had this knife for many, many, many years. All the paint on the pocket clip is gone. This is back when they were still coming in CTS XHP, which, side note, I love CTS XHP. It's one of my favorite knife steels. I'm not complaining that they moved to S35VN on the new productions. I don't find an issue with that. But mine was a pretty early one. This knife is ground really weird. There is a story behind that. I'll do a review on this knife one day, kind of get into it, why that is. As you can see, I've got a little bit of, this knife doesn't really have jimping, so I've got some skateboard tape on the spine of the knife right there. But this knife weighs 5.3 ounces. So just a little, 2.2 ounces more than the Penguin. And if I line them up tip to tip, you can see how much more knife this cold steel is. Obviously, this cold steel is completely different intended use, but that's just showing you, for the weight of the knife, what you're going to be carrying. If that's consideration for what you're intending it for, could be a consideration. If this is going to be a work knife for you, something you can really beat on and tear up and not have to worry about, it'd be hard to go with something. It'd be hard not to go with something like the Recon. But, if you're just looking for a more dressy knife, the QSP is a great knife. No complaints about it. I just wanted to show you this relative size comparison. Obviously, with this, you're getting a much bigger and probably more usable knife. For intended use, it gives you a lot more. It's harder to carry, obviously, because it's a bigger knife, but it opens up a realm of what you can do with the knife for the same weight as this. So just food for thought. Get that out of the way. Overall, really like this knife. This knife did come fairly sharp from the factory. I wouldn't have had to have touched it up. I didn't have a need to, but I was actually sharpening some of my knives the other night, and I just said, well, I'll go ahead and put my edge on it anyway. And as you can see, by my left arm. I'm running low on hair, but I will try to show y'all. Get this in here. This is the Penguin. As you can see that right there, you know, it's good and sharp. Did it need that? No. This knife was plenty sharp from the factory. I just went ahead and touched it up while I was in here doing it. Overall, great knife. Highly recommend. At 50 bucks, you can do much worse than this knife. I feel like this knife kind of fits a niche role. It's not really what I would consider a work knife. Not that it couldn't function in that. I just think it's a nice knife. I wouldn't want to just go out and thrash on this knife and beat on it. I think this is more of an upscale, dress-up style knife. Kind of a lot like the Civivi. The Civivi, obviously, many people do use as a work knife. But I just think it's got that little bit of classiness to it that makes it good in that type of environment. I guess that's about it. Again, I got this one off eBay for $49.50. I know they're available on BladeHQ for the same price. It's just whether or not they're going to have them in stock. I know right now Smoky Mountain Knife Works has this knife in stock for the same price. So you can find it. You may just have to look around. Just basic Google search of this knife. Let me see. The blade, or the box. I'm assuming this is the product code for this specific knife, QS130-G. QS130-G. So if you're looking for this knife, go on Google, you know, QSP Penguin product code. Should be able to pull it up, no problem. Shouldn't have any issues finding it. That's it for today, guys. Just wanted to show y'all this one. If y'all like the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know if there are any other knives specifically that you would like to see, reviewed. Obviously, I'm a newer YouTube channel. Still getting my footing, but I'm trying to do the best I can, trying to give y'all some good content. Anyways, thanks, guys. Take it easy.